Tesla's a car company, an energy company, a robotaxi company, and a humanoid bot company. That's what it is just for now. Let's review each of these divisions for Tesla in detail. Why did Tesla not provide a specific guidance for vehicle production for this year? We were expecting them to reaffirm a 20 to 30% growth, but they left that guidance out this time. What happened to energy margins and energy production? With regards to Robotaxi, we were all surprised when Elon Musk confirmed the plans for rollout in Austin this June. And for bots, we were all surprised when Elon confirmed internal plans for 10,000 bots this year. What are the challenges? What are they likely to come true? And what might be more likely to not come true? To help me figure out what is true and what's not, I've got Brian White joining us. He's the host of his own YouTube channel, FutureAza. Thank you, Brian.
This was such an exciting call. We had a whole show about it yesterday, you and I, and it was wonderful. It was a great call, but these are really good questions, and I'm looking forward to helping you figure it out.
Okay. So vehicle production, last year he said 20 to 30% growth, but this time they left that out. What was your estimate for what they're doing, not only for the Model Ys, the new Model Ys, the more affordable vehicles? Are there plans, are they on track? What's happening with the factories? What's going on with vehicles?
It's a great question. So we were having a bit of a discussion in the live show about what this all means and why are we not getting any guidance at all? Elon has said, if you ask the wrong question, the right answer becomes impossible. Right. I'm sure he was quoting someone much more clever than I, but it is the right sentiment. If you're asking how many cars, is it the right question? Or is the real question, how many miles, how many car miles? Because it's like, how many bots are you going to deploy? The real question is, how many bot hours are you going to implement? How many man hours will you replace? How many human driver miles will you replace? So it may just be that it's the wrong question, but the reality is, if we are poised on the cusp of something this big, it doesn't always make sense to keep doing the other thing. When I was a kid, we painted the house, and me and my sister had to use brushes to paint, and we're going so slow. And then a few hours later, the adults came around the corner with the spray gun and just cleared over our whole patch in 5 seconds. And it felt like, why on earth are we doing this? Do you want to be the last guy painting with a brush, or do you want to pause for a second, grab the roller or the air sprayer, and actually get some progress done? So yeah, that's why we're not seeing guidance. The analysts, the Wall Street guys, they don't get it. We were discussing that on the live stream as well. Why are the analysts so bad? How can they not understand what's going on? And the answer is, I don't know, maybe they're spread too thin. Maybe they're just trying to drive forward by staring into the rearview mirror. But whatever it is, they don't see the curve ahead, and they're not going to understand it until it's too late.
Yeah. What are you expecting for the more affordable vehicles?
I don't know, man. On the more affordable vehicles, I'm kind of burnt out on speculating. I think it'll be a 3 or Y, but a little bit smaller. I hope it's not just a Model 3 or Y, but more cheaply made. I don't think that meets the objectives. I think it would be, if they're going to keep the same form factor, just cut the margin, maybe software limit the battery or something silly, so that when those come back off leases, when they're secondhand and people want to put FSD in them, it can still be a full featured vehicle. This runs a bit counter. I think by introducing these vehicles, they would actually increase volume, maybe not 20 or 30%, but my full year projection is at 2.015 million. I think that's modest. I think that's well below 20% growth, because this is, while last year was a rebuilding year, this year is a spooling up year. We're going to see a whole lot of Cybertruck growth, but it may come at the expense of S and X sales. We're going to see a whole lot of semis, but in numbers that aren't really going to move the needle compared to millions of units. So automotive, I think it can be flat without it being problematic.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that they did confirm that the more affordable vehicles are on track to be delivered the first half of this year. We're talking before June. We're talking for the next 3 to 6 months, probably. We're going to start seeing them more than one vehicle. That's unbelievable. So regardless of that, not giving a guidance for growth of total sales, man, they're knocking out of the park. Model Y coming out gangbusters, all 4 factories already producing it, more affordable vehicles on path. So vehicle wise, that sounds like we're on track. And then, by the way, right, the record setting cost of goods, less than $35,000 per vehicle.
And that's not, if you could build Model 3 for less than 35, you're doing pretty good. Well, guess what? Model 3 is way below that, because this includes a Model Y and the Cybertruck and the S and the
That's
X.
crazy.
Now, the S and X are small potatoes, but the Model Y is the majority of your sales, and the average cost is under 35,000 for the cost of goods sold, which is
Crazy.
fantastic. And that's before you realize the new Model Y is cheaper to build than the old one. So that number will come down automatically. And this is during a time of rampant inflation.
Yeah. So I'm just going to show the cost of goods chart here. You know, it's unbelievable, right? So you've got cost of goods achieved an all-time low Q4 2024. That's crazy. I mean, it's just fallen significantly since even Q2. That's like a massive jump, massive reduction.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so that's what we saw for vehicles. Now let's talk energy. What was your evaluation of what's happening with energy? What happened to margin? What happened to energy production?
Sure. We know deployments hit a record high. A lot of people thought, well, that means automatically revenue is going to hit a record high. It didn't. That's because pay on these is lumpy. Only part of the pay comes on deployment. The rest of the pay comes with milestones leading up to deployment. So even if the margins were unchanged from last quarter, the revenue could be quite different to the upside or downside, depending on how many other milestones in the process of each megapack at each location, when and where they were hit. It's also, while you can go on the website and find out a price, that isn't necessarily the real price. If you wish to purchase 100 of them or 500 of them, you don't use the website. You get in touch with them and say, we would like you to bid on this project. Those will likely potentially have a lower margin. And if that happens, those deployments would be up while the margin would be down. It's nothing to get upset about. Tesla has industry leading margins on Megapack and best-in-class reliability. We recently saw a fire at Moss Landing. It wasn't the Megapack. It was the LG pack on the other side of the yard that caught fire. I don't know the cause of that fire yet, but it doesn't matter. It's bad optics and a whole lot of wasted money when it happens, and Tesla is the least likely to burn of all of the energy storage solutions on the market.
Okay, got it. Well, why don't we take a look at the energy a little bit more closely? These are slides from Cern Basher, so thank you, Cern, for providing this. This is Tesla's energy revenue per megawatt hour deployed, and we see here that it's the revenue has fallen significantly from when it was before. Energy is becoming more of a commodity, right? The price of batteries are falling, so revenue is falling in terms of what you can sell it for. So even though the megawatt has grown, the actual revenue has fallen, but it's still going to be a very significant contributor. It's still going to be quite high, significant. Here's the gross margins. It also fell a little bit from what we expected last month, but we knew that, right? That's lumpy. This is what's going to happen. Here's the cumulative gross margin, though, and you can see that it's absolutely now contributing significantly in terms of dollars to Tesla, and that's energy. So, any thoughts on energy and margins?
The cost per megawatt hour, of course, is going to come down. It has to. That's the nature of batteries right now. And for the last 20 years, I expect to see the revenue per megawatt hour continue to fall, at least for the next 3 to 5 years, maybe forever. Who knows? That's not surprising to me. The margin remaining high is good. The fact that it's 25% instead of 30, not concerned. It could be, again, a lumpy distribution. It could be that next quarter it's 30 again. It could be that 25 is the normal and 30 was the anomaly. We're not just talking 25%. We're talking 25% of hundreds of millions of dollars. So it is It's printing cash is what it's doing. I can see why they want to, why the mega factory in Shanghai is so much bigger than the one in Fremont. I can see why they're talking about building the next one already. And as soon as the LFP batteries are available in whichever market it is they decide to build it, they will move forward with that, because these, you can't export them just anywhere. They don't, there are countries that will put on steep import tariffs or restrictions, but it doesn't matter because the market is so vast that there will still be no shortage of countries that want them, need them, can pay for them. And those are the places they will sell first, while the other countries are sorting out their business or getting their own factories to build them. So this will be, if we're talking, 6 billion a year in profit, great. I mean, that's $500 million a month in profit, or in revenue, with a quarter of it. So $100+ million a month in profit on Megapack before Shanghai Megafactory even rolls out. This is just pure money.
Okay. Tesla's a car company. Tesla's an energy company. Okay, let's move on to the real good stuff. Tesla is a robotaxi company. What did you hear in the earnings call about that?
Oh, I thought when you said the exciting stuff, I thought you were going to tell me they're an action figure company, because that's very exciting. What was the question? Robots?
Robotaxi company.
Robotaxi.
First.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is insane. If you look at the Dutch, they had windmills before other countries did. And you ask yourself, well, what can you do with a windmill? Well, you have the first machines in the continent. So you can do anything. You can press olive oil. You can drain the water so you have a bigger country, but you can also mill lumber. So what would happen is you'd look at your choices in ships. The Dutch could build a ship in a couple months that took other countries years to build, because they were hewing the wood by hand, where these guys have a machine that just mills wood all day as long as there's a little bit of wind. As a result, the Dutch had the biggest fleet, the biggest navy in the world, the biggest merchant marine fleet in the world. It wasn't even close, and it led to global domination. Well, if you're the company that's got one of the first robotaxis, if not the first robotaxi, that's great. But if you also have the factory that can crank them out in a way where the markup is such that for every one you sell, you can probably keep one for yourself. And if not, for every bot you sell, you've got enough money to keep one for yourself. Tesla could conceivably, in a matter of years, have millions of robotaxis in-house, each one printing $100 a day, $200 a day, $100 a day profit on 2 million vehicles. That's an insane amount of revenue for just doing what they were kind of going to do anyway. And I think it would be more vehicles than that. And I think it would be at a greater margin than that.
So robotaxi seems like a real business. Yeah, they're rolling it out as a real business, commercialized, paid robotaxi in Austin, June. And he said it's going to be able to roll out in California. Pretty confident that it's going to be this year. And then he goes, it may actually be many more. And he then reiterated that today, Tesla has thousands of cars that are doing unsupervised robotaxi rides now, or unsupervised self-driving now, because they're in the factories driving itself out of the factory. But he said thousands that are happening now. So they've been testing this, and it's pretty confident it's going to be June. What was your,
Yeah. So, shareholder meeting is right around June, isn't it? It's in Austin, isn't it? Do you think that this will be something that is available as of the time that these investors get to town to talk, to see the shareholder meeting? Wouldn't it be wonderful if all of the investors were just told, by the way, you've got your phone on you, don't you? Just order a ride, my friend.
Yeah.
Experience the future right here, right now. It works. I think that is no coincidence.
That's interesting. Well, I mean, obviously they can get whatever they can get approval. Made sense that it's going to be in Austin. That's what they know. So things are on track. In fact, not only on track, but ahead of schedule. Who said yesterday? Who would have said yesterday, before the earnings call, that paid robotaxi would happen in June? Everybody I interviewed, they kept saying, it's going to happen this year, but late this year. Don't listen to Elon. When Elon says June, do you believe him? So close at this point, right?
I mean, it's 5 months. Do I believe he's being honest. I don't know if he's being correct. But the fact that we have guidance for June is brand new information. I am one of those people who, had you asked me before the call, I would have said December,
Yeah.
late December, maybe January, at best. But the fact that it's June tells me maybe it's not June. Maybe it's July or August. Maybe it's September, October, but it's not December. And when it comes to something that's going to change the world this much, a month or two is not going to kill you.
Okay, so he did confirm that this year is going to be Tesla-owned cars, Model Ys, that they're going to do. They want to test everything. He said, right? We want to know the software works. We want to make sure that the car is doing what we're expecting it to do. We're going to dip our toe, and then we'll dip another toe. So he'll do it in California. Then he'll dip a foot. He'll roll it out wider. But that's what the test is this year.
Yeah, test the water. And once you know the water's good, jump in with both feet, get it done. Yeah, that's the best way to learn to swim, dive in and have someone there. No, the analogy breaks down at that point. But yeah, it'll be very easy for them to know. They will have a very good idea before they start the test how it's going to go. If it works out the way they need it to, they'll roll it out wider and then go all the way. But if they need to make some tweaks to it or, add some additional monitoring to the, maybe assign the interior camera to be on the lookout for bad behavior, I don't know. But remember also that once this is unsupervised, the compute that was being used for driver attention monitoring is now free to compute something else. So that is another benefit.
Interesting. What was your thinking about his answer to licensing FSD when he was asked that question? He said, yes. Are you having discussions with other automakers? He said, yes. At this point, we're seeing significant interest from a number of auto companies for licensing FSD. He continued on saying the same things he said before, right? That we're looking for companies that are producing, millions of volume of cars. But this confirms what I've been saying for a long time, that it's the opposite of what everyone was saying. That in fact, there's been a lot of companies banging on their doors, and they are the ones, Tesla's the one choosing which ones they want to partner, not the other way around, that, oh my God, please, we're hoping somebody would call us. That's not what's happening. There's some significant interest from a number of auto companies, and they're just picking the ones that they want. Were you happy with the licensing FSD discussion?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because so first of all, what's lost in reading the transcript is the actual answer was, yes, yes. Look, yes. And that's the real answer is it's funny, but yes, of course we are. And what you and I have been saying for a while is if other manufacturers are not talking to them, they should be discharged from their duties by their board of directors. Not saying you have to buy it, but open that door and have the conversation. Maybe your team solves it internally. Great. Maybe you think your team, great. Have the conversation. If you see a leader and you're not having the conversation, you are not doing your job. What surprised me is that he was able to disclose, yes, a number of manufacturers. And we're not going to work with Aston Martin to put 50 units out. That is not a good use of our engineering talent's time. But if you're looking to make, a serious volume of these, we can work together. Then it makes sense. I know from my conversation with the team, with the Cybercab team, I asked them, how adaptable is it? Could this even be licensed to other vehicles? They said, oh, absolutely. I go, right, but Cybertruck took ages to configure. He goes, well, Cybertruck, it's not that it's a different shape. It's that the entire steering system is completely different. How it navigates through space is different. Well, now we know how to navigate with steer-by-wire and rear steer and variable steer, but we also know how to work on any other car. So if we were to try and adapt it to a new car, when the new intermediate compact comes out, if that's what it is, the lower price car, if it is a different form factor, FSD should work out of the gate, just like it did when Tesla released the Model Y based on the Model 3. It's just a car. Just like it did on the Model 3 from the Model S. It's just a car. It works. So all of that was the fact that the conversations are ongoing is not a surprise. The surprise is that we now know that the conversations are ongoing.
Okay, so Tesla's an autonomy company, and as soon as June, it's going to be a commercialized program. So at that point, everybody will know price, the model, the app, how everything works. No analyst can now say, we don't know what it is. We don't know if it's real.
They can, but if they say that, you need to pull your money out and find someone
Somebody else who knows. Yeah.
who understands what the world is that we have just entered.
Okay. That's the autonomy part. Is Tesla a bot company? What did you hear? Are we still in a prototype stage? Are we actually serious at this point? What did you come out of this?
I've been asking, what is your definition? And I don't mean you, I mean everyone's definition of minimum viable product.
Mm-hmm.
If you want something that is a cool demonstrator, it's already there, has been there for a year. But if you need something that performs actual tasks, you need three things. You need the hardware to work, you need the software to work, and then you need the ability to manufacture. Tesla uniquely appears to have all three. The hardware, we've seen demonstrations that are fantastic. You've seen them in person. The software, that's something that they can answer better. We haven't seen as deep of a look behind the curtain, but we know how good their programming and AI teams are. So that's the missing piece. And then of course, manufacturing. This is not going to be as simple as I thought it would be when it was first unveiled. This is much more complex, but it doesn't matter because it has been designed from day one for mass production, all the way down to using the crash testing software to model how it will fare when it falls over. Not if, when, because we don't plan for if accident, we plan for when accident. So then, yeah, they will have a price advantage over everyone else, in part because they are a manufacturer and in part because they will be manufacturing at absurd scale. And they have a hardware advantage over many of the companies, not all of them. You've seen some companies that have truly amazing products. Can they be manufactured? Are they sufficiently reliable to be manufactured? Do the parts they need exist in sufficient quantities? Tesla's going to address that. So Tesla uniquely has all the pieces. And now we know it's not a rumor. We heard a rumor that run rates would be high by the end of the year. Nope, it's confirmed. If the run rates aren't ridiculous by the end of the year, we've done our job wrong. This is our plan. It is in motion.
Yeah. So it's no longer just a prototype. They called it production design 1.
Mm-hmm.
And production design 1, he said, we're going to make 1,000 bots run rate per month. 1,000 bots per month. Right? They have an internal goal for this year, 10,000 bots. He goes, will we hit 10,000? Maybe not, likely not, but we'll hit thousands this year. Production design 1. Next year's production design 2. And we're going to sell it to outside the company by the second half of next year. And that we're going to have a production line at that point next year. It's going to be the production line version 2, and that's going to create 10,000 bots per month. It's 100,000 run rate at some point, right? So, but of course he said, right, this is like we're building the train at the same time that we're laying the tracks and we're building the station. So there's a lot of variables, but we're in production design 1 already. So this is a product that they're building at numbers, 1,000 per month, 10,000 per month. These aren't prototypes. I mean, you can. Some people will say no. Like Jeff has confirmed that prototypes, you can make thousands of prototypes. That's still considered a prototype. But production design is a version of a prototype that is now thousands.
I would call the original Roadster, the original Tesla Roadster, a prototype that they produced at limited volume.
Right.
And the Model 3 was production intent Model 1, version 1. And they quickly iterated. And that's what I see this being. I think this is a little behind where Model 3 was when it was first rolled out. But Model S was, boy, the first ones that came off the line were
sketchy,
real amateur hour. But if that's what the first generation of bots are, great. Definitely don't sell those. If Tesla could have kept all those first generation Model S's in-house, I think they'd have preferred it for their legacy. But they couldn't, of course, for every reason.
I'm telling you, 2025, Tesla is a bot company for sure a car bot company, but humanoid bot company, this is the year. I mean, when you're talking production design one and thousands per month, can you imagine? So if this happens sometime this year, the confidence level is high, 1,000 per month.
Yeah.
That's enough for me, man. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like we were talking about another show. How big of a room do you need to have 1,000 bots?
Right. Well, think about that's a very good size like opera hall.
And they're all going to be working. I mean, he's confirmed that Tesla can handle thousands of bots. There's lots of jobs that they can do now. He felt very comfortable saying the kind of jobs that they will do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sheet metal, batteries, moving things around. There's lots of repeatable, dangerous, boring jobs that these bots can do now. So can you imagine that? Seeing a Tesla factory by the end of this year, let's say it's just 1,000, but they're actually shooting 5 to 10,000. But let's say 1,000 bots. Even that alone, this is a bot company.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, this is a volume of humanoid robots that the world has not produced and sold in its entirety collectively before now. This is like when we were looking at Giga Nevada before it launched and saying, isn't the capacity of this factory something like half of the world's entire lithium battery supply? Yes, it's what we need, is what we will have. And of course, they now make more than that at that factory, but it now appears to be a drop in the bucket.
Okay. So we just went through vehicles, energy, robotaxi, bots, and a number of the statements that he made. Which of those statements do you think are likely to be true? That's going to happen for sure in your mind. And which ones are unlikely to be true?
I hope June for Robotaxi is true. Not Cybercab. Again, that's end of year, maybe early next year for volume. But for in-house Robotaxi, I very much hope June is true. I think when it comes to things that are 5 months out, Elon's track record is less than stellar. It's the fact that Ashok was on the call gives me more confidence. Robots, I think that's true. I think not 10,000, as Elon himself said, that's aspirational, but I think thousands, meaning over 2, probably over 3, very doable. And my BS meter didn't go off much during this call, which is great.
Yep.
So
more affordable vehicles is on track. If it's going to be the first half of this year, sounds like everything's still on track. If it wasn't on track, they would have had to, say something about it, right? Change the guidance.
Or at least not reiterate.
Yeah, right, exactly. And they did reiterate that it's on track. So things are looking good. I think the only thing that we heard was battery constraint. That was the concern that they're dealing with. And hopefully how do you feel about that? Is that a solvable problem? Is that an impossible problem?
It's interesting that, it comes down to policies that have been put in place that are detrimental to the EV industry overall. I don't know of a short-term solution to them. I think we may experience more pain before it gets better. I do not see foreign companies with battery expertise jumping at the chance to come to North America to build battery factories. And I think that this lack of batteries and this lack of will to import batteries means that U.S. automakers are going to end up ceding a lot of ground to foreign automakers in the EV space, and that in the near future, all cars will be EVs. So I'm concerned about that from a policy perspective, and I do not know of a solution.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brian. Fantastic. Appreciate good show. Follow Brian on his YouTube channel, FutureAza. You'll enjoy it there as well. Thanks, guys. Bye, everybody. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.